This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
Another week of action. We welcome you inside the Sports Source Digital Network studios. Chuck, Tyler, we don't have to do the pleasantries. We don't have to say the hellos. You know the two guys that want to help guide you to the kickoff of the 2025 Tennessee football season. Chuck, we've been all over the depth chart. We've taken a look at one side of the ball.
Yes, sir.
We have flipped it. We've looked at the other side of the ball. But the intangibles, sometimes you just got to fill in the cracks. You got to talk about those little things that bring a complete game to the table, especially if you're Josh Heupel. And we all know about the small nuances that completes the game. There have been plenty of conversations about Josh Heupel's teams over the years.
Right.
One that always gets brought up, especially in small circles, penalties. Well, if you're doing up-tempo stuff, it doesn't matter about penalties. You're eventually – the tempo hasn't been there, but the penalties continue to be there. Before we get into the first question, if I just said Tennessee and discipline, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Lack thereof, giant question mark. Let's just talk about the discipline when it comes to the yellow flags on the field.
Well, there's a difference between a discipline and how aggressive he wants his team to play.
I like that.
And he wants them not only to push the envelope.
They need to.
But that's what he wants, and that's what he's always wanted. And he talks about playing with violence.
Yes.
So you can't really play with violence and always worry about being disciplined.
Yeah, this was a team last year, by the way, if you want to talk about where they've been. And look, how often do we see Tennessee football games on the television or radio go long? A lot of scoring, and usually there's a lot of stoppages in play. Just last year in 2024, Tennessee ranked last in the Southeastern Conference with 105 penalties per game. Ivens, Chuck, can you guys do the quick math for us? 8.1. Props to John Pennington for being able to help us throw together some of the board math here. This is what it's looked like in the window since Josh Heupel's been in Knoxville, so get your pen and paper ready for this one. In 23, remember there were only 14 teams in the conference before Oklahoma and Texas got here. Both in 23 and 22, they ranked dead last again, still in that 8.179 range. 2021, a lot of up-tempo, but you finished ninth. You can take ninth as long as you're moving with tempo, and you haven't had tempo in a while. So today's question right out of the gate, we are looking for penalties per game. So quickly, those numbers, reverse order, 8179, 8168. Chuck Cavalaris, putting you for the first time today to the board. Average penalties against Tennessee per game 2025.
Okay, real quick, Coach Heupel doesn't really care if there's going to be some false starts. Even though they figure into it.
With tempo,
you
can have as many as you want.
What kills Tennessee is the personal foul penalties. And the interesting thing to me is there's been more on offense than defense. When you look at the ones that are called, and a lot of times it's been your tackles on holding calls. So you get even though they're the same, a false start and a personal foul is the same as one penalty. The yards really adds up. So you're talking about 8 penalties, 8.1. I got it going up. It's gone up every year at Central Florida. It's gone up every year at Tennessee. I would go up at least to like 8.5.
Okay, so
penalties a game.
I'm actually going to go with the common number that we've actually been talking about here. 7-9 kept popping up in previous years, and I'm going to stay on par. I'd like to say that Tennessee cleans up this mess a little bit, but you already highlighted 2 of those spots.
Can I say one thing real quick?
No, please, come on. It's back and forth. We're on this show,
I think you've got so many new starters, brand new offensive line. You've got across-the-board receivers. Defense, your secondary is going to have some key guys. Are you going to have maybe 1 or 2 holding penalties? So that's why I would have it ticking up.
The David Sanders aspect of it.
Right.
You can't pay that kid that amount of money and tell him to ride the bench.
Right.
So you have to start him as an 18-year-old, and you have to say, David, you're one of the best tackles in all of college football, and we had to outbid Ohio State to get you to Knoxville. But we need you to go out there and play like you're a seasoned vet. I just don't know if you can ask him to do that right out of the box game 1. First season, be able to. He says 8.5, I say 7.9. Where are we off on this? I would probably take it a little bit due north just because of the inexperience, and we cannot stress this enough. Go back and look at those numbers again. Just click back on the rewind. You can hear those numbers again. When Josh Heupel in Tennessee's offense tempo is doing this, you'll take a couple of false starts. You'll take a couple of procedure penalties. When they're back into snapping the ball 10, 12, 14 seconds in the play clock, that's when that's inexcusable. And it's the personal foul stuff.
I know.
Go back and look at the triple-digit numbers that they're getting against Bama and Florida and some of these other numbers. Those need to be cut in half. Excellent right out of the gate. We talked a little bit about turnover margin last week, but we were talking about the pass rush. Who defensively, how many could they get in groups? I think that this is an interesting question because of the Joey Aguilar aspect, okay? Turnover margin. We're talking about the plus minuses. Those are some of those inside the details parts of the game that really tell you the difference between who won and lost if you did blind resumes between the two programs. Last year, Tennessee finished 5th in the Southeastern Conference. Their plus minus was 6, okay? They went 4th the year prior. They were number 1 in the Southeastern Conference in 2022 with a plus minus of 11. They took a significant step back before that big build back in 2021 to 5. So we know Joey Aguilar can get a little wild at the poker table. We know the defense can go out there and ball hunt.
Right.
I think this might be the most interesting number that we have today. Offensive boo-boos, defensive takeaways. Chuck Cavalaris, what's the plus-minus this year turnover-wise for the University of Tennessee?
Well, now last year we said what? It was 6?
Yes.
Plus-minus, you're plus 6.
6 each of the last 2 years.
Right. So when you look at that, I feel like it has to go up some with a change in quarterback. You only had, I think it was 9 interceptions at the quarterback position last year, 7 by your starter. You had Dylan Sampson, had some fumble issues where they ripped it out, later in the season, but that's really something, the big point of emphasis, to not put the ball on the ground. I think it's going to, the plus minus is 6. I'm going to put it at 4.
4?
4. Because I'm expecting to have a few more interceptions.
From the offense?
Yes.
I think that the interceptions get cut down with Joey Aguilar, and I think the defense is going to be.
Wow, we're giving our people something to jump on.
I think the defense is going to be a little extra special this year. Here's the reason why. And I know we talked about this in previous episodes, but last year it was James Pierce. Last year it was Omar Norman Lott. Last year it was, here are a few of the players that you need to watch out for. Tennessee defensively, with a couple of their poster children, there's a little bit of an enigma. We can sit here and we can say, well, we think, oh yeah, but this guy, there's so much uncertainty. I think that Tennessee's defense is going to be pleasantly surprising this year. And I think with Joey Aguilar getting the ball out of his hand quickly, immediately he's going to cut down on turnovers. I think this number is going to be one of the highest that they've had.
All right, let me ask one question.
Go ahead.
How many interceptions has Aguilar had the past 2 seasons?
14 and 10.
So
Thank
that's
you.
24. Now, and when you jump into SEC play,
Okay.
is that number going to go up or down? I think it's going to be more about your quarterback position. Last year, your starting quarterback only had 7 interceptions. He's had 10 one season and 14 the other. Is he going to be able to cut that number down? That's what it really going to boil down to.
So that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought this up, because if I take the 14 and a 10 and I just cut it in half, let's just say this year Joey Aguilar throws only 12 interceptions.
I don't think he stays on the field, Murph. And if you say
he gets in that
only,
territory, I don't even know if he's the starting quarterback.
Well, true. I'll give you that.
Oh, that's.
Too. So I mean, but what
This
we
is why
did,
Chucky
we
C-Note comes on here, because that advocate can
you
be
went
spun.
+2 on the number,
Yeah.
plus minus, and I went -2 because I think there's going to be more interceptions.
You know what that's called? A little bit of margin of money making right there.
Advent Electric has been providing high-quality electrical contractor solutions for 46 years. From 24/7 emergency electrical services to providing skilled residential and commercial electrical contractors and everything in between. Our expert certified electricians are equipped to help you no matter the size or complexity. Advent Electric, 865-588-0631.
As always, thank you to the gentlemen and the team over at Advent Electric. And while you get the opportunity, come on, comment below. What numbers have we been off on? And are there numbers that we haven't tackled yet that you would like to chat about? We got plenty of time before August 30th between Tennessee and Syracuse. Ring the bell if you want more action, you want more Tyler and Chuck. We've got you right here on the Sports Source Digital Network. Boy, howdy. That's my favorite phrase when we're going to talk about something I think is juicy. Boy, howdy. Max Gilbert. When I say Max Gilbert, don't just say, he's just the kicker. Because that usually is what the response is when I say, Max Gilbert, the kicker? Yes. Your thoughts on his first year kicking for the University of Tennessee in 2024?
Well, I mean, he won a competition going into the season.
He did.
You didn't go out and find in the portal somebody to be your kicker. Just a little bit on the background, a Memphis kid, soccer player until his freshman year of high school, started kicking the football, really rose through the ranks. His last season for Tennessee, I mean, he started out like, this guy's amazing.
Yeah.
He made 11 of 12. And then he kind of hits a 1 of 6 kind of slump, like a golfer that can't make a 10-foot putt.
He was getting a Bronx cheer going into the locker room after making a give-me field goal.
But then, into the season, made his last 50, 52-yarder, I think. What we found is, I mean, it was limited range to me.
Yeah.
It was like 40 to 45 yards. You felt good. And then
Remember,
that kind of got,
anything over 50.
No.
A couple of people over at the SEC Network made sure that it was an emphasis every time that he lined up from anything under 49 and over 51.
Right.
It seemed like we knew where his pushing limits were.
Right. I mean, and was money on the point after touchdown,
Right.
what you want with your kicker. But all in all, I mean, I guess a little inconsistent. This starting so well, tailed off. There was a talk about Josh Heupel, the vote of confidence. He's our guy. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. And if that range can improve some and the accuracy goes up over the course of the season.
Would you say that it's unfair for me to bring this, well, I guess it's a statement to the table. Josh Heupel's never had confidence in his kickers, or he's never really had stellar kicking.
I'll go with that one. I think he has confidence in who he puts out there just for what they put him through in practice. Remember, the media doesn't get to see any of that.
Yeah, right.
So, but I think he has confidence in his kickers. And I just don't think he's ever had like an all-SEC type guy you see some of the schools have.
Especially at the University of Tennessee.
Right.
Jeff Hall came on the field.
Right.
Count it. Alex Wilhoit, count it. There have just been some place kickers in the history of the University of Tennessee. I'm only 38 years of age, where I've just gone, ball game, no chance you're keeping this. I haven't seen that since I've come back home in the last 7-8 years, and that's even before Josh Heupel got back here to, I should say, originally came to Knoxville. Can we talk about this number real quick?
Sure.
There are some field goal percentage numbers, and again, credit to JP behind the scenes, because this stuff's pretty remarkable when you actually think that you know the number, and then you hear the numbers and go, wow, that doesn't add up. It does. 2024, Tennessee finished 11 out of 16 teams. Their field goal percentage was just ahead of three-quarters.
Right.
It was at 76%. I want to go through these numbers quickly. 23, they were at 79%. In 22, 80%. And then back in 21, and even three-quarters at 75. So quickly, 77, 79, 80, 75. That last one we did was good. So this one I want to see how close we get.
Well,
Max Gilbert.
it is what it is. Maybe you don't go 1 of 6. Maybe you hit 3 of those. So I'm going to go up a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to go all the way up to 80 with the kicker. I'm going to go, especially with 2 of the big road games at Alabama, at Florida.
It's a big factor.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a little bit of an edge. I'm going to go from 77 to 80.
So I think he's going to stay just on par where he was last year. And my question is, do we start seeing open competition inside the season? Now, Chuck Cavalaris, if you just listen to it, he added a little bit of a sneaky little nugget in there. Try kicking on the road at Florida. Try kicking on the road to T-Town in Alabama. You start the season inside of a dome. Now, I know some people are like, well, there's no way, but it's not the comforts of what you're used to.
Right.
So this year, he's going to have to go to 5 different venues that he's not familiar with kicking in.
Right.
It'll be his first time in Alabama, first time in Gainesville, first time in Atlanta, and then you have those other trips that are coming up this year. I believe your road trips are Kentucky and Mississippi State. So I'm going to say he's going to be on average. I think there's going to be a lot of big kicks he makes this year, and I think there's going to be a lot of kicks that you go, he wants that back.
Right, and I'm just thinking out of that 1 of 6, he makes a couple of those he misses. And here's another thing, too. I wouldn't be as quick to trot him out there for a 52-yard field goal.
No.
I think that's asking, because it's almost like a golfer that has to hook the ball to hit a 300-yard drive.
Right.
You want somebody that can get without having to feel that way, because what happened last year, his miss was left and it was right. And that's the last thing you really want to see as a kicker, because it's a two-way miss.
I think we're going to see how much Josh Heupel trusts and makes defense again this year with a lot of those 4th and shorts at the 50 inside his own 45. Let's see how, I mean, those days, or maybe even on the opposition's 45, running Max Gilbert out there, I think there has to be a set number. And if it's a yard ahead or behind that number, your decision becomes pretty easy.
Yeah, because I just think if you're at the 35-yard line, that's a 52-yard field goal. I mean, by the time you snap it, the goalpost 10 yards back. So, I mean, that's either you start making more of those or you just don't try.
Coming up on next week's edition of Action, we're going to talk about fourth down conversions and how many Tennessee's going to go for this year, because there could be some questions at the place kicker. We kid. We have a lot more we have to get into. Chuck, Tyler here on Action. You got 3 things to do. You like, you comment, you ring the bell. You want future numbers. Get ahead of the game and follow the money. If only there were 2 people who could provide a compass to help you follow said money. We're back with you next week right here on Action. Hang with us here on the Sports Source Digital Network.